Just mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys would come in and say,
Oh, God.
So me and Joe on the ground, I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, because everyone's saying, who here thinks Ochico can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochico can practice today. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
The spirit plane has some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
you heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her and I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time
Good show.
You had in a circus or something.
I'm late. Like, I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you going to bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it?
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Welcome back to Mic'd Up. Today is Monday, October 2nd, better known as the best sports month of the year. Major League Baseball playoffs start
Unless your
tomorrow.
season's over.
Huh?
Unless your season's already over.
Well, it's not over. We're gonna get to that. Let's all look. Let me do everybody a favor. One, you could drink in Heineken if you want. You probably need that. It was probably a long weekend for you in sports in Louisiana football. You can go ahead and drink a Heineken Silver. Only 4% alcohol. 4% alcohol, only 95 calories. Very good. These are the Heineken headlines, so it'd be the time to drink it. But I want to do an exercise. I want everybody just to take a deep breath in. Slowly exhale. All right, now we're good. Now everybody relax. We're going to be okay. All right, we have a lot to talk about. LSU goes to Ole Miss. They don't win. Newsflash. They lost. Didn't play great defensively. Played great offensively. Major League Baseball playoffs start this week. I'm going through these headlines and we're going to get back to this LSU. The Saints also stink, right? Complete opposite. Their offense isn't very good. Their defense is great. I think their offensive coordinator needs to figure out some stuff. Same way LSU's defensive side needs to figure out some stuff. There's just a lot going on, right? LSU is. Now listen, I'm trying to phrase this the right way. LSU came into the season with very high expectations, right? They had a lot of guys returning offensively. They had some key guys returning defensively. They had a lot of guys they had to figure out what was going to happen as far as starting roles go on the defensive side of the football. So you say, oh, we went 10-4 last year, first year. Well, they didn't have a lot of scholarship guys. This year is going to be awesome. We're going to be a playoff contender, and we're preseason number 5. Yeah, for sure. Like, that's great. A lot of hype. Still a lot of question marks. We play a really good team early in the season. They beat us, right? Now you got to go. You got to right the ship. You feel like you're starting to do that. You play Mississippi State. You go and you play Arkansas. You didn't play great defensively, but you won the game 33-30. You're like, oh, we got some stuff. Okay, hey, here's a big test. Ole Miss. I felt like we were going to go to Ole Miss, and we were going to win. I think a lot of people did. The line was 2.5. For a second there, I was watching the game. I was like, damn, Vegas is very good. It was 2 points. It was a 9-point game. It ended up being a 2-point lead. I'm going to start with the positives. The LSU's offense is very, very, very good. We've talked about that all year. Jayden Daniels is very, very, very good. The offensive line seems like they've started to figure it out. They've had this continuity. They're doing things that they need to do to win the game. They can score on anybody. They can move the ball. Jayden Daniels was throwing darts all weekend. The touchdown passes that he made, the touchdown catches that our receivers made were very, 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 they were contested. They weren't wide open. He was throwing guys open over the middle of the field behind linebackers. He understood what we was trying to do. Our offense is world class. It's top 3 offenses in the country. I would argue that it's probably the top based off of the competition they've played so far, right? On the other side of the football, the defense is historically bad right now. They gave up 720 yards of offense to a team that only scored 10 against Alabama, to a team that hasn't run for over 100 yards against any of the teams that they've played before, or SEC teams, and they run for 300-something yards against us. Not great, right? Missed tackles, 34 of them. Miscommunication in the secondary. Our defensive line was getting manhandled. They got exhausted. They were standing up. At the minute the ball was snapped, they stood up. They were not getting any pressure. No sacks, no turnovers. A lot of bad things on the defense. So I said I was going to start off positive, and I did. The offense is the positive part. The defense, not so much. We're going to get into that. It is also Monday, which means we have our friend Keith Ricardo here from the law firm of Get Gordon. So we appreciate you coming back on the show as always. We've talked about the defense with you before, right? You are a defensive guy. At some point in this year, we're going to get the cowboy collar on you, and you're going to come and you're going to show us what you looked like as a linebacker. What we didn't see this past weekend are the linebackers and the secondary and the defensive tackles and the defensive ends making tackles on players. Give me your opinion of what you saw defensively.
And this is the nicest way to put it, a total and utter disaster. There's no excuse that when you score 49 points that you can't win a football game.
Would you have stuck your head? You could have made a couple tackles there. Maybe not catch them on the sidelines.
I'll tell you what, I'd have definitely run to the football because there wasn't any of that going on. I'd have stuck my head in there. We got guys that look like they're scared to make plays. Yeah. Look, it's from the defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs. All 3 position groups look absolutely atrocious. I don't think there's any.
You have a bag next to you. What's that for? I don't think we're there yet.
I don't think we're quite there yet, but I've got it handy in case I've got to throw it on because the way we looked on Saturday, it's getting pretty damn close.
I've been told about the veins coming out of your neck, about when you get fired up. I can see them. They're starting to protrude.
They're starting to poke out because.
Yep.
What was the jugular? It just went down from the weekend.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of things that we can talk about defensively. There wasn't very many good things that happened defensively, if any. What is the one thing that you saw that was the most concerning to you as a fan in the stands?
We're week 5 last week? We're week 5, and we've talked about it since I started coming on here. The miscommunication has not gotten any better at all. Look, I know, the most about playing linebacker. That's what I know. But I can tell you this, a pre-snap technique from a defensive
Yeah, get up and show us again. Get up and show us again. Let's go.
This isn't it. This ain't where it's at. When you're doing this 4 or 5 plays a series, you got issues happening.
So how do you do it?
Way to put it.
How do you do it?
What?
How was the setup? Instead of standing up, what do you do?
Just get ready and know what you're doing. You're playing man. No one knows what man they've got. They're all pointing to different dudes. When you're playing zone, nobody knows how to pass anything off. It's nonstop.
It's a whole lot of this.
Half the teams playing zone, half the teams playing man. Right? They're not making tackles when they need to make tackles.
They're not rolling coverages. If you're playing man to one side and you're playing zone to another, both half the fields have to be on the same page. And it's just not happening. And there's no excuse for it at this point. You've had a whole spring together, a whole summer together, and damn near half a football season. When is it going to change? You got to get on the same page.
You don't even have to have an elite defense. You just have to have an okay defense. You just have to have an average defense to be able to win games with the type of offense that you have right now, right? Had they made a couple stops, had they made a couple tackles, had they made just a few extra plays defensively, you would have given the offense another possession for them to go and score a point and be able – look, the game was 9 points. Now, they did make one stop, and the offense had a chance to put it away. Listen, you can't blame the offense for really anything.
No.
I get it. You would have liked them to go down there and score again, but when you score 49 points and have 40 yards of offense, you're supposed to win that game.
In 4 quarters.
In 4 quarters. Yeah. Not even overtime.
No extra time.
No extra time. You're supposed to win the game, right?
There's
and
no
they
excuse.
didn't. There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of missed tackles. There were a lot of bad angles taken on some of this stuff. It's just, it was all around a very, very bad performance. And here's the other deal, right? People are talking about.
They're great on first and second down.
Hey, they're great at getting third down. They are, right? I want to say they had 8 or 9, maybe 8 third down conversions of 10 yards and more. That ain't good.
That didn't happen at the playground.
No. That ain't good.
Does it?
That's not good, right? And so you have a team full of guys who are athletic, and like people are saying, oh, let these guys, let them go. Let Harold Perkins go. Let him go and rush the passer. Well, here's my rebuttal to that. Yeah, that's great. Him going rush the passer is great, but he's a 6'2", 215-pound linebacker coming off the end. He's not Michael Parsons. He's not Joey Bosa. He's not Nick Bosa. He's not Khalil Mack. He is a linebacker that needs to understand the linebacker position, right? Like, he is very athletic and he's very good. He can get after the passer. But if you're not disguising the way he's coming, and he's just coming from one end, he's coming from the edge.
Yeah, and he's got one pass rush
you
move.
can game plan from that.
He's got one pass rush
If you
move.
listen to Lane Kiffin in the post-game press conference, Lane Kiffin said, we saw where Harold Perkins was, and we ran 85% of our plays away from him. Well, he's neutralized. We ain't got to worry about him because now he's got to come back, either chase him from the backside, which is almost impossible, especially when you have a running back like Jed Kinsley's very good.
Well, it's impossible, especially when you got to run around every play. Like, that's his move, respectfully, right? Like, that's what he does.
He tries to get underneath
He's
them.
faster than everybody. He can
leverage.
rip. He's got crazy bend. Like, that's what he's been really, really, really good at here. It's really hard to do if they're going to run away from you and you have to chase it from around. You can't go through someone. You can't cut it. It's hard to do like that.
Brian Kelly's talked about some of these young guys. They're young. They're good. They're young. They're not ready. They're not ready. Well, listen, the veterans that we're playing don't seem like they're ready either. So I'd rather let some of the guys get in there to have some opportunity. I'm not saying you play them every day, but like, let's get some of these guys. Weeks looks good when he's in there. I'm sure he's not completely ready. Maybe he doesn't have a full grasp of what his role is going to be. I'll tell you what, Space didn't look great.
He looked faster than Spates.
Space didn't look great this weekend. No Space coming off injury. Didn't look great.
No.
Bob.
Bob.
Not good. But you know what is great? Who is great? The Get Gordon Law Firm, right? Y'all are great at, one, educating, allowing people to understand what you do and how you do it and how to prevent some of these incidents from happening.
Right.
And y'all have graced us with y'all's presence every Monday over the last few weeks to educate us, educate Lloyd. Look, Lloyd's a little under the weather.
Yeah.
He's got something called bronchitis.
The itis.
He is staying away. We have a plastic screen in front of his desk.
It's like the old days.
Yeah, like the COVID
behind the
days.
glass.
That's it. So we have everyone here. We are getting educated by you, right? Y'all have done a really good job of that. Obviously, Everybody knows G. Everybody knows what y'all are about. But I don't think people understand, like, hey, oh, they just want to make money off of some of this stuff. No, you are here to help these people prevent
Called pro bono.
some of this stuff happening. What do we have today? What's our lesson today?
Right. So, in Louisiana, we're always known as like the state with these crazy laws, right? And some of these laws have to do with animals. Like, for example, in Orleans Parish, it's illegal for you to tie your alligator to a fire hydrant, okay? That's
alligator.
just in case.
That's actual law.
That's
People were doing that before?
I don't know how this
Bobby
law
Boucher.
came about,
Bobby
but
Boucher.
but it's a thing, okay? And, these laws revolve, there's a bunch of crazy laws around the animals, right? Well, when it comes to dogs and animals, specifically Louisiana, in some circumstances, an animal owner can be held what we call strictly liable for damages that their animal, for losses that they cause to other people or injuries that they may cause to other people. And for dogs specifically.
Yeah, let's say a dog. Dog's probably the most common.
Yeah,
I think alligator was probably, we're going in the right direction there.
Hey, I don't know. Did y'all see the guy that tried to bring an alligator to the football game?
Yeah, he said it was a service animal.
Service animal.
Yeah.
Service animal.
Wait, he didn't have his tied to
And
a
he was
fire
not.
hydrant,
No, he was tied to a leash though.
So
a little vest leash.
Is it the fire hydrant that's illegal, not the alligator, right?
both.
It's both.
Oh.
You got to have both.
Can't do both. So
Can't do either.
Obviously, nowadays everybody. Back in the day, when you used to watch like cartoons or something, it was the mailman getting bit by the dog, right? Getting chased by the dog. Now
The girl in the sunscreen bottle.
It's what?
The girl with the sunscreen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's more of you have everything delivered to you. Amazon, a lot of like, hey, ship direct to the house. So you have a lot more people coming in and out of the house, and there's a lot more opportunity if you're not careful and don't understand what you need to do to either get bitten or be liable for your pet dog to bite somebody. So that's kind of where you're going with this, right?
Yeah. So in order to prove what we call strict liability, or essentially, how the owner can be liable no matter what, is we've got to be able to prove a couple of things. One of those things is that the injuries that the dog caused could have been prevented by the owner. And the court uses a criteria of, was there a foreseeable risk of harm there? And then we also have to prove that the dog was not provoked by the injured person in causing the attack. So those are really the two main points, or the two main elements that we've got to prove in order to impose strict liability.
So here's my question, right? We talked a little bit off air about situations, right? So let's say I have a pet at my house. Never had any issues with him before. Amazon driver comes up. I am just getting home. I open the door. I see the Amazon driver come. I open the door, and I know that he or she is delivering this package to my door. But instead of being careful and saying, hey, keep the dog in, I open the door wide open. The dog comes out, thinks the Amazon driver is somebody that's not supposed to be an intruder, and bites the Amazon driver. Yeah. Am I at fault as an owner?
So when we talk about fault, there is a negligence standard and then a strict liability standard. We're primarily talking about the strict liability standard today. So it is a little bit different, and everything is circumstantial, right? There's got to be a lot more factors that we know before I can say, hey, look, you're absolutely going to be liable under this scenario. But really, in order to protect yourself from having that claim filed against you, right? You want to have a good homeowner's liability policy. And right now, it's kind of a crazy thing that's going on in Louisiana, right? All these insurance agents, they're writing through all new companies. A lot of companies are bailing out of Louisiana. And some of these companies that these agents can write through exclude animal liability, okay? So if it does come down to where, you are liable for your dog injuring somebody and you don't have that animal liability policy in your homeowner's insurance, you could be held personally liable for that. So it's one thing that when you are going through and signing these new homeowners insurance liability policies, you want to check to make sure that you are covered for your animal in case something were to happen.
So this is why Matt House isn't playing the dogs. You don't have homeowners liability.
Yeah, that's it. You can't let the dogs loose.
You can't let the dogs loose.
And
let's go with that. That's a good spin.
You know,
It's a good spin zone.
And one thing that people always think about, they're like, oh, it'll never be my dog. It'll never be my dog.
Harold never.
There are plenty of times when it is your dog, something that, you may have never expected before or something.
You don't know
like
what's going to trigger him
Right.
or her. What? Can you go ahead?
I was about to say, outside of obviously having a good homeowner's insurance policy, for the dog owners, if you could, I know it's circumstantial, but what is a blanket set of things you could say that would prevent you from, being sued in those situations to where it would go against you?
Yeah, make sure you've got a good fence in your backyard. If your dog's outside, you want to make sure that he's contained, okay? You want to make sure when you're walking around the neighborhood, you've got him on a leash.
Right.
Just little things like that to prevent any type of harm that may happen.
Right.
Do what you can to prevent having that claim.
A little proactive.
Yeah, you have to be proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
What if he has like a baggie of bacon in his pocket? That's what you want, like a Ring camera, to prove it, right?
Yeah, I mean that would probably help you.
I'm just saying. Hey,
Which I have one, but my wife decorates our front step, and you can't see from it anymore.
She decorates the entire door, Coach. Let's be honest.
You just can't see. The ring camera's there. We can't use it though because
see the decorations.
yep, you can see the decorations. They're great.
Yeah, and just to kind of like close things up, one little caveat.
I have
to
other
all
cameras
this
though, just in case you want to come try to steal them. That's all.
Is this liability and things like that, it's not just held to bites, right? A lot of times the bigger injuries, at least in my personal experience that I've dealt with on some of my bigger dog bite claims, end up coming from the fall. Like if a dog attacks and someone falls, your wrist bones are pretty exposed in that situation.
Right.
Or even if a dog doesn't bite and they're just running out and jump on somebody.
Right.
That goes back to that scenario where you're the owner saying, oh, my dog would never bite somebody.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but who's to say they're not going to get excited, see someone in their front yard, and just go try to play and knock them over?
Now, is this a? Let's say this happens to somebody. Let's say it happens to Lloyd, right?
Right.
This dog attacks Lloyd.
Delivering tennis
Don't really
balls.
attack. Let's just say the dog wasn't attacking Lloyd. Let's say it's a bigger dog, and he thought Lloyd was trying to play with him, right? Like he thought, oh, this guy is coming to play. He's my friend. And this dog goes and jumps up and paws Lloyd, but Lloyd wasn't ready for him and kind of freaks out and panics, and the dog knocks him down, and he goes down there and he like breaks his wrist. Is that a situation where we are at fault? And second part of this question is, how long does he have before he can go out and file suit?
Yeah, so again, the owner can be held liable in that situation. That's something that we actually see fairly often where,
What if I'm under the influence?
What's that?
What if I was under the influence?
Well, I mean, that's something that the court could take into consideration there.
That's
That's
negligence.
why you get a good lawyer.
Right.
Exactly.
That's why you have us. And then you also, just like a motor vehicle accident, you have 1 year from the date
1 year.
of attack to file that lawsuit.
I like that.
It's
So
always, look, the sooner you give us a call, the better.
do they have to go to a doctor? Like, what if oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, whatever, and then all of a sudden, a month and a half later, your wrist or arms doesn't get better, and then they go to the doctor. Like, do they have to have, any specific visits, or is it, hey, you didn't go to the doctor for 2 months, and now you're trying to claim this?
Yeah, so again, it's always easier to prove your claim, the sooner that you go to the doctor after any type of attack like that. It makes that chain of events easier for us to prove, because this is a legal claim and we have evidence to put forth. So obviously that doctor's visit right after the attack would be evidence that we can use to say, hey, he was hurt, and because that timeline would be short from the day of the attack or the time of the attack up until the first doctor's visit, it's easier to show that, okay, yeah, the attack is the cause of these injuries.
Right.
Okay, let's say this happens. You're a listener, you're watching this, or you're listening to this. This happens to you. Oh, I've had a friend that this happens. What's the next steps for them?
Give us a call, 225-888-8888.
A lot of eights. Easy to remember. 225-888-888-888. Too many eights.
That was way too many eights.
7 eights. There's seven of those. 7 eights in there. Speaking of 8, Malik looked great.
Great.
Right?
I think we need to start doing with this Get Gordon helmet. We need to start doing the old college football final and get a helmet sticker
Oh, yeah.
to put on there.
go.
Get
I'm
the
in on
Get
that.
Gordon helmet
I like
sticker.
that. Well, hopefully, look, I'm not saying it's ready. but can we just see what it would look like, just in case it is
It's ready for the Saints.
Yeah, just maybe for the Saints. Saints are 2-2 though; they don't have a losing record yet. So we're not there yet.
Got to be under 500.
You got to be under 500. You got to be under 5. Now, if they go up to Missouri and they lose to Missouri,
We'll all wear them.
well, maybe. That's a game they can't lose.
What's it? SEC
So
East.
You gave advice on the law side. Before I let you go, I want you to give me your advice as a former high school stud, right? And a fan of LSU, a diehard fan. You gave a law advice, now give me your advice on the football field. What do they need to do defensively for you to feel like, okay, they're taking a step forward?
I mean, I think it's going to go back to the basics at this point. You've got to, start running a pursuit drill. Start running to the ball. Just doing those little things could have probably prevented a score or two, and then we end up with a win.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
I mean, it was embarrassing as a fan and someone who watched LSU defenses growing up, watched the lack of effort on some of those plays or how gassed we looked on some of those plays. I can just imagine some LSU football alum had to be dying watching it. Yeah. I mean, you had to be dying.
You're an alum, right? You played. Well, you don't know. You don't know anything about football.
You don't know ball.
You don't know ball. You don't know ball, apparently. You've never been in that situation where these guys are in.
Never stepped in that arena.
No, never.
Not with cleats on, at least.
No. I'm with you though. I think a lot of these issues are fixed by honestly just the basic things you learn when you're 9, 10, 11 years old playing tackle football. Rally to the football, and the guy who's got the thing in his hand, the football, the little pigskin, tackle him and put him to the ground.
Because if you hold him up too long, he could pitch it to the running back now, and then he'll just get 10 yards.
But the main thing is the guy with the ball, tackle the guy with the ball, put him on the ground, and that helps.
How do you take in these football games? Do you watch them alone, or are you?
It depends.
Are you
Sometimes I watch
intoxicated?
them with
Are you intoxicated?
not all the
It
time.
depends.
It depends.
I try to cut my
37
drinking
missed
off,
tackles, yeah.
an hour or two before the game so I can remember
There you go.
everything.
There you go. That's a Lloyd move.
Got a real system to
Right,
this thing.
I do. Look,
That's a Lloyd move.
I've been doing this for a long time.
I respect it. I respect it.
Yeah, so I try to cut it off about an hour or two before so I can take everything in.
I like that. Eat a little hot dog maybe and stay
well
asleep.
hydrated.
Yeah,
Start
I like
getting
so
all
they-
fired up.
so
like,
they
all right,
cramp
here we
up.
go.
I like that.
Why don't you just go watch it in your room?
Yeah, honestly, where I was watching on Saturday, I almost wanted to go home and just watch it by myself. Like, it was not good.
It was one of those games.
Yeah, it was one of those games. Keith, as always, we appreciate you. I think next Monday we may have a special guest coming with you.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I've heard. I'm not going to announce anything because I don't know, but it seems like he's enjoying, the special guest is enjoying your time here, and he may want some limelight himself.
Oh, yeah.
Is what I've heard. So looking forward to that. We'll see you again next Monday, hopefully after a victory.
better
Last time we
weekend.
played on the road at 11 a.m., it was our best game of the year.
Let's go find a parking lot,
Let's
fellas.
just go do that again. Find another parking lot.
Look,
Find,
little beer
find
and
a gas
Cheerios
station.
game, baby.
Let's
Little
go.
beer and Cheerios
That's
game.
it.
Get that piss hot.
Put some beer in the Cheerios.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That's it. Appreciate you. Again, if you need any law help, any law advice, or you have a question, 225-888-8888.
Wee.
That was it.
Did it.
3 more 8s.
Give him a call. Keith Ricardo, he's your guy.
All right,
Appreciate
so,
you, man.
thank
Thank
y'all.
you. Thank you.
No helmet stickers to give out on the defense.
No, well, there is. Jayden Daniels gets a helmet
I
sticker.
said on the defense.
On defense. Okay. Definitely on defense. Definitely not on defense. Definitely on offense. Appreciate you, Keith. They did make a change. They did make a move defensively on the staff. A name that a lot of people will recognize, that has been here a lot throughout the course of decades, in and out, is known for being a defensive line coach, a guru at that. He is a little old. He's 82. His name is Pete Jenkins. I love Pete. I think he's awesome.
Pete knows
He
ball.
ain't the magic pill, though.
Pete knows ball.
Pete knows ball. Now, is he going to help as far as, scheme? Maybe not. Is he going to help as far as, hey, this is what you need to do as far as technique? Probably so. It's the 5th game of the season, though. This stuff has to be taught to you in June, in July, and honed in August. And, hey, okay, we need to fix this in game 1 and 2. And, look, I'm not saying it can't be fixed, but these are some of the things that needed to happen earlier. Our defensive line coach got sick. He's in the hospital. Our prayers we're giving our prayers to him. But you didn't replace him with another defensive line coach. Did I say offensive or defensive?
You said defensive.
Okay. You didn't replace him with a defensive line coach. You replaced him with another guy who doesn't have a lot of experience coaching the D-line, if any. So it just doesn't seem like you have the guys in place to allow these players to develop and make these necessary changes. And I don't know. I could be wrong.
What I saw was something I say it's been. I'm not exactly sure that I've ever actually really seen it to the level that I saw it Saturday at LSU, right? Like when you play football, especially in the defensive side, alignment and assignment is the two huge things, right? And once you're able to do those two things correctly, then we can really talk about technique, right? There was way too many times throughout the game, too, and it wasn't really even just at the end of the game. Throughout the game where I saw D linemen waiting into the absolute last second to line up. That's not good alignment. Like, you're not getting yourself ready to go, and because of that, they were getting blown off the ball, right? I saw way too many eyes staring in the backfield, not playing your assignment. If we're not doing these two things right, we can't even get to technique, right? So then now we don't do these two things right. We take bad and poor angles. We don't gang tackle and get 11 hats to the ball. We don't chase after the ball. The pursuit of the ball was just god-awful all game. It was embarrassing watching the effort that they put out in that game and watching the way that they played that game, knowing what this place is and how it was built and what went into building this place the way it was built. I've never seen that kind of effort get put out on the defensive side. And it's like, to me, you didn't see – you go back to we named Harold and how people want to see him used and how he is being used.
And look, I think Harold's a great player and will be a great player.
Yeah, it's not even about that. Like, we didn't see Womack. So that leads me to wonder, like, all right, well, if he can't get in the game in this game, right, where we've got how many, 3rd and 10 plus
like 7
that got converted?
Yeah.
If we can't get him in the game to rush the passer on 3rd and 10. I don't even think he played in the game. So you're basically
Zero.
You're basically telling me they're either not good enough or we are not deep enough as a defensive line, which is why as the game goes on, you got defensive linemen standing there with hands on their hips, not even getting in the dirt. That's a problem I've never really seen here.
Yep.
And it scares me that that's where it is on that side of the ball, because that's a staple here. And it's something that's in the past, it's been a must here. You have to be able to do that to be able to play at this school, and I've never seen it happen that way. So it was really disheartening watching the offense go out there and give the effort and the performance that they put off, and you do that and you still lose by like a touchdown.
Listen,
never seen that.
Outside of 19, right, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to do what 2019 did, right, offensively. This is an historic offense.
Yeah.
The numbers they are putting up, you're going to have 2 wide receivers with well over 1,000 yards. You're going to have 2 wide receivers, again, with probably double-digit touchdown catches on the year. You're going to have a running back that, probably going to get to 1,000 yards. Hopefully. You may have a quarterback that has 4,000 yards passing. Well, actually, definitely going to have a quarterback that's going to have 4,000 yards passing, maybe 1,000 yards rushing, right? You have all of the offensive line is playing a lot better than when they first started the season, right? So you are wasting this offense because you're not able to listen, the 2019 defense wasn't historically good. They were not. They had really good players. They were on the field a lot longer than normal defenses that we're used to seeing at LSU. They made big plays when they had to, and they stopped the run, right?
But it wasn't broken.
It wasn't broken. It was just,
I think a lot of the numbers 19's defense gave up was because of how good the offense was.
That's my point.
Right?
These guys had to score.
They gave you the opportunity to play and just pin your ears back and kind of play soft and let people kind of try to have to nickel and dime their way down the field.
No doubt. But when they got to the red zone,
clamps came.
Yes, they shut it down. Right? You had turnovers. You had guys making big plays. You had pressure on the quarterback. You had all of these things. So, just looking at the statistics, you're like, oh, that defense wasn't, they didn't have that great of, statistics. Well, they were that good. You go look at who got drafted on that team and who's playing in the NFL from that team. Like, there's a lot of them, right? They were elite as far as talent goes. They were on the field for a lot longer. This year, you were supposed to be very, very talented on the front four. You're supposed to have a bunch of depth. We saw them look exhausted at the end of the game. Not getting any pressure. 0 sacks, 0 turnovers in the game.
The young kids they did even put it in the secondary, they looked lost.
Yeah.
Terrence Welsh looked lost half the game. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I watched him literally looking around with like he was an owl with his head just spinning half the time. I've never seen that kind of effort come out of that side of the ball here. Like, it was literally like they didn't belong on the same field. And we talked about this. We go back to Wednesday. We talked about, hey, look, you realize a lane. See, like, this isn't baseball, man. If you couldn't hit a slider, your entire team couldn't hit a slider on Saturday, there's a very good chance by the time the next Saturday comes around,
you can hit it. Or you can't.
Maybe one, but not the whole lineup. The entire team is swinging and missing on sliders.
That's your hope.
It's a good chance a week later they're still going to be swinging and missing on sliders. Football's different, man. Like, they got punched in the mouth when they went to Tuscaloosa. That offense is already known to be good. The coach is already known to be a very good offensive coach. You got tested. You got pushed around. We talked about it Wednesday. Hey, I'm just telling you, like, what they put on film in Tuscaloosa, right? If they came out of that game healthy, where they're not going to be missing starters, I promise you, because of how good the coach is, because of what they've already done and what we know them to be, you will not get that performance, right? So if you're not going to get that performance, I need to see 11 hats to the ball. I see dudes literally trying to jump over piles instead of trying to get that 0.5 tackle, instead of trying to be part of that pile, instead of trying to be part of that problem. I see dudes trying to run away from him. I see dudes watching to see if the guy's going to go down. Oh, shit, he didn't. Now let me try to speed up and go catch him. It don't work that way. You can't play defense like that. And that's what I saw on film. So it's crazy to me that, like, there was no urgency in understanding that you will get embarrassed if you don't show up here Saturday. And they got fucking embarrassed. From start to finish. I saw dudes not chasing balls in the first quarter. It ain't like we had to wait until they got tired in the fourth quarter. There was no pursuit in the first quarter. That's embarrassing, and that's not LSU football. And if that's what's going to be that's what they're going to continue to put on out there, I can't see how you keep putting the same players out there or how you keep letting the same people coach those situations, because that's not here.
With all of that said, everybody is
There's
upset.
a whole lot of truth in that.
There's a whole lot, right? And I agree with everything you just said. We're 3-2 on the year, 1 loss in the SEC. Okay? You got Missouri, you got Alabama, you got Missouri, you got Auburn, you got Florida, or Alabama, Florida, A&M. Those are the 5 you got left, right?
The only team that's more embarrassed is Florida than LSU.
But my point is,
the precursor. His point is he's making what people are going to take as a hot take again. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We've been doing for a while now.
Yeah.
No
hot
takes,
taking.
It's a hot,
we're
hot take.
Hot takes, right? My point in saying all this, if LSU doesn't even have to fix it all, if they improve defensively to the point where they're making tackles, let's just start there. Let's not even get to the point of, hey, they need to communicate better, they need to cover better, they need to get turnovers, they need to do this, they need to do that. Let's not get to that. Let's go to the simplest form of football, tackling the guy with the ball, right? If they can improve on that and they can make tackles, this offense will score on anybody. LSU doesn't play Georgia this year. They don't play Kentucky, which Kentucky is playing their ass off. They don't even play Tennessee this year, which Tennessee's got some own issues. They play Auburn. Auburn's playing better, but they're not great. They play Missouri. Missouri's undefeated. You play them this week. That's going to be a big challenge, but you have to think that you're better than Missouri.
Talent-wise.
Right? Talent-wise. Offensively, you're going to be able to score. Defensively, you need some stops. Right? And I think the offense is okay with that. You play those two. Florida, you think you're better than them. Right? They're going through their own issues. A&M's going through their own. They're starting quarterbacks out. You play them last game of the year, anything can happen. You go and you beat Alabama, like it always comes down to, you're going to end up in Atlanta as SEC West champions with 1 loss. A 10-2 season, 1 SEC loss. Ole Miss, you say, well, Ole Miss is undefeated. They have the tiebreaker. Well, yeah, they lost to Alabama, We beat Alabama. They have the tiebreaker and all that. That's fine. They're going to lose to Georgia. They play Georgia, right? I'm looking at Ole Miss's schedule right now. They got Arkansas next week, which Arkansas can jump up, but they're probably going to beat them, right, at home. You got Mississippi at Auburn. That's not a gimme. Auburn took Georgia down to the wire this past weekend, 27-20. I'm not saying it's a win for us either, but we get them at home. You know, they play Vandy. That's a win. Then you got Texas A&M at home.
Construction might be done by then.
Construction may be done. That's at Mississippi anyway.
Oh.
They got A&M. Then they're at Georgia, and they're on the last game of the season is on the road at Mississippi State. My point is, I don't see them getting through that without having another SEC loss. Okay? So that way they have 2. Now, LSU's got no more room for error. No. Right? They have to go out there and they have to win these games. I get that. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. What I am saying is people are trying to tell me the season's over with. We've lost 2 games. We can't make the playoffs. Hey, newsflash, we probably weren't going to do that anyway. I don't care what the hype was coming into the year. Yeah, that was the ceiling. If you end this regular season 10-2, shit, even if you end the regular season 9-3, that's better than you were last year. If you end the season 10-3, that's better than last year. You were 10-4. Your winning percentage is better. So you have an opportunity to do everything that you set out to do outside of maybe make. Now, if you go to the SEC Championship and you win it, you're probably in the playoffs with 2 losses, probably. Right? That'll put the committee in a tough spot. But my whole thing is when people say the season's over with or, oh, we can't do it or this and that, a lot of the same stuff that we said last year when we lost to Tennessee. And Tennessee blew our doors off at home. It was not good. It was not close. This game, we didn't get our doors blown off. We just looked terrible defensively. You fix it a little bit, you have the opportunity to go into that Alabama game the second or the first weekend in November to go in there and win that game again and put yourself in a position to get to the SEC Championship. That's my point. I'm an ultimate optimist, but that's just the facts. That's just what the schedule shows up. I'm not saying they are or they're not. All I'm saying is the chance of them doing it is there and the potential.
Last I checked, we were the only people screaming that they were an 8+ win team before the season started last year. Check that box. Last I checked, we were pretty much the only ones saying there is no quarterback competition. There's one guy. Check that box. Last I checked, right now, we're the ones screaming, hey, this is a 10-win ball club, much like we said to start the year, right? And I still do believe that because that tells you what kind of talent runs through his door. What's going to happen again is that 10-win is going to be hanging on the balance of what happens in Tuscaloosa now.
Yep.
Whether it comes in the regular season or whether it comes as a bowl game 10th win there. That's where it kind of hangs at right now. And that's where this team is. I still think because you have that kind of offensive firepower, which I can even tell you right now, I'm not sure I thought it would ever be what it is right now.
I agree with you. I thought it was going to be really good. I don't know if I thought it was going to be this good.
We called at the beginning of the year. I said, I think the offense is going to be good. I'm excited to see how it's going to look and what it's going to look like. I think the defense is going to have some miscommunication problems early on. Wow, it's been that and a little bit more. But I still think they're on track because of what they got here, because of the track record of the head coach, because of the discipline he can instill in the program, which is very obvious. I still think they're on track to be a 10-win team because that's just what you can do with this place if you do it somewhat right.
I have a question for you.
We're just looking at if it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if you're a 10-win team in the regular season and or better, that means you are always in the conversation of the playoffs. Everywhere, right? Up until the last second. That's really what it is. So people are looking at it like, oh, season's over. To be a 10-win team this year means you went 9-3 and won the extra game, or you went 10-2 and then you got a chance to win 11-12. That's really where you're at.
Yep.
And that's where I think this program is. I'm not sure that I really believe, and for different reasons now, honestly, that they're a playoff contender better than 10-win team. But to start the year, I thought they were a 10-win team, and I still do.
Yeah, 100%. Like, playoffs, look, you have to be –
it's expectations versus reality.
Exactly, right? And here's my question. Here's my thing, right? And I don't want to keep harping on this stuff, but passing yards per game. And, look, there's no competition. But as far as like, what we expected, we thought the offense was going to be good. I thought Jayden Daniels was going to take that next step as a quarterback going into the year, which would make the offense better.
And he was going to take the stairs 2 at a time.
Exactly. I didn't think he was going to take the elevator, to be honest with you. Like, first game.
Elevator. I think he took the drone.
First game was his worst game. I think everybody can acknowledge that.
And it wasn't bad.
He went 22 of 37, 60% completion percentage for 346, a touchdown, interception. Now, granted, 75 yards in the game, whatever you want to say, fine. But 346 total yards. He's in 5 games this year. He's only thrown for under 300 yards one time. Do you know what game that was?
Probably Grambling when he got taken out.
He was 18 of 24 for 269 and 5 touchdowns against Grambling. Then he went 361. Then he went 320. And then he went 414 on the road. So his worst game was his first game, which wasn't terrible. And he's progressed, right? So it's not about defending Jayden. I think that's over with. I'm just saying we thought the offense was going to be better. I don't think anybody could have thought it was going to be this good.
He threw for what, 4 touchdowns Saturday?
Yeah.
This was funny to me.
Rush for one.
Rush for one. 5 touchdowns total.
Push.
Does anybody know off the top of your head? How many touchdowns he threw for last year?
20.
Once again, we're not talking about this is just about Jayden. Just anybody know how many touchdowns
he threw? 28.
28.
You know how many touchdowns he's thrown for this year?
I mean, I can tell you. Let me tell you. 16.
He's at 16.
You want to know how many he threw for last year? 17. He threw 17 touchdowns last year and ran for 12, I think, or 11.
That's right.
So he had like 28 on the year total.
Right, that's what it was.
So the elevator and our drone that he took to the top, he's also brought the offense with him.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't expecting it to look like that. I can be dead ass honest with you about that. I knew it was better. I even thought it was better in game 1 when it wasn't great. I knew it was better. I wasn't expecting the defense to take this long to come along. And it almost looked like they took 5 steps backwards.
I was going to say, it ain't coming along. It's regressing.
It looked like they took 5 steps backwards on Saturday. And that is what's hard to kind of keep watching and go forward with right here.
And I guess that's what people are, obviously, you saw the ultimate LSU fan reaction where it's fire Brian Kelly, fire everybody, get rid of, clean house. It's all of these things that you want to happen whenever you don't realize the product that was actually on the field on the offensive side of the ball, which is where Brian Kelly makes his hay. That's what he does well. That looks great. My question is,
I'm glad you're asking this.
What would you do to fix the defense? Because and on top of that question, you bring in Pete Jenkins. Why did it take so long for everybody to realize that you have to have a defensive line coach?
Right.
Just like
So
you have to have a quarterback's coach, you have to have a running backs coach, you have to have a secondary coach, and it's just everybody was put it under the medical seal of, oh man, it's unfortunate that he is in the hospital.
Who's going to replace him?
Right, but you still have to replace that person.
And here's I guess if I had to say
and you see
one
the defensive
thing,
line, but you see that's part of the problem.
Right. If I had to say one thing, one critique on Brian Kelly, right? Like, look, you can like him, you can hate him, whatever you want to do, right? I think Brian Kelly is a good coach. I'm not saying...
There's no doubt he's a good coach.
I'm not saying fire Brian Kelly. But if a company is being run, right, and the head of the company, the owner of the company, if something happens underneath that guy's watch based off of somebody he may have hired or not hired, it happens within the company, it falls on the leader of that company, right? That's just the reality of the world.
It's like playing quarterback.
Right? Exactly, right? Like you are the leader of the offense goes as you go. If you're playing well, the offense is probably going to go. If you're not playing well and the offense it's on you, right? If you're playing well and the offense isn't playing well, then there's a reason why you haven't lifted anybody else up around you. It's on you. That's just the reality of that position. The reality of being the head coach at LSU or any big-time program is the coaches underneath you fall underneath you, right? That is your responsibility. So when you look at the changes that he made, and we talked about this off air, because you, Lloyd, were very vocal about losing some of the coaches that we lost. You're very vocal about losing Corey Raymond. Right? I like Corey. I've gotten to know Corey. You know Corey.
Corey.
He's a great
I know
dude.
Corey really well.
I love Corey. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he would have been a great asset at LSU. Right? I don't disagree with that. I also don't disagree with Brian Kelly's decision to say, you know what? I'm coming in there. I'm here to change the culture. I understand what was here before, so I'm going to change that, and I'm just going to clean house. It's not because he didn't think he was capable It wasn't because he didn't think he was a good coach. It was because that's just part of what he wanted to do. Okay, I'm on board with that.
Blind
but
trust.
If you're going to do that, let's put the people in place that are as qualified, if not more, than him. And I'm not saying these guys aren't good coaches, but I'm saying resume-wise, it didn't look like Corey Raymond's. I'm saying when a defensive line coach goes to the hospital and he can't coach the rest of the year, let's get another defensive line coach, right? I get it. They weren't there all year. But, like, somebody's got to go and –
I mean, Pete Jenkins is a perfect answer to this question. It's just a matter of why did
well,
it
I don't know
take...
if he's a perfect answer.
No, for this scenario in which you're in where you have to almost hire an interim defensive line coach. You don't want Pete Jenkins to be your defensive line coach. He's 80 years old.
Right.
But he's been at LSU so long. He understands
yes.
within the building what's going on at LSU, and he's great at being a technician of the position. Right now, you don't even have a coach. So my only gripe would be, why did it take so long? What do you think was going to happen?
That's what I was getting at. Like, if my only critique is if you're going to go and you're going to hire these guys, like Matt House, I'm not saying Matt House is a bad coach because last year he did a great job.
Everybody was
with the guys
concerned
that he
about
had,
losing him to the NFL.
right? But I think that if you're going to have continuity with all of the coaches, everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to understand, okay, this is what we need to do. And it just doesn't seem like either the players are just blatantly not listening and can't do it, which I don't think is the case, there's just some mixed signals and mixed messages, and for some reason it's just not working. And to me, that you have to fix that as the head coach, as Brian Kelly. And I like Brian Kelly. I don't want him gone. I like him. I think he's going to be great here. I think he's going to win a championship here. And he said it in his press conference, I don't have time. Like, I know I can't just come in here and get all these freshmen and allow them to develop and have 2 years where we lose 5, 6, 7 games. I can't do that. So he goes to the portal. He gets these guys to be able to compete now, right? I understand all of that. But there's a happy medium of trying to develop these young guys so that you don't always have to keep going to the portal and have this start to get in this pipeline. He said year 3. I agree with him. But you can't just give away year 2.
Yeah,
Well, this is all getting ratcheted up because of how good the offense is looking now. Because you won't have Malik Nabers, you won't have Brian Thomas next year, you won't have Jayden Daniels next year. For as many people that wanted Garrett Nussmeier, you're putting up historic numbers on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what's so frustrating for people, I would imagine, is that you could score 55 points a game and can't win.
You played 12 games this season. You've played 5. So you have 7 left. If Jayden Daniels averages 2 touchdowns a game for the next 7 games, he's thrown 30 touchdowns this year.
how many times has that been done in LSU history?
1 time.
30? What, Joe? Oh, I know Joe Burrow, but Rohan had 28?
Rohan had 28. Jamarcus had 26 or 27.
Yeah.
1 time.
He doesn't throw the football.
I just, dude,
I think that's where a lot of like this angst is coming from, because I think everybody saw the same reaction that I did from the fan base of LSU.
You sound good for having bronchitis.
Thank you. I took a Mucinex right before.
Nice.
But I think everybody saw the same reaction that I did, which is very visceral and very angry because of how well the offense played, and that's not what you really expected considering what you saw last year. It's just, it feels a lot like shades of 2020, a lot like shades of 2013, where, man, if you just have something on the defensive end, but it feels like nobody has an answer for what that is. It feels like it's fundamentally easy.
Because that's the thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure if we went and watched the film and knew the play call, there's a good amount of missed assignments and bust, if you will, in the secondary, right? Like, I'm sure there's that. But the one thing I didn't see, like I said, when I watch a defense play, I don't see 11 dudes hustling to the football. I don't see 11 dudes literally trying to tackle the football until the football is on the ground. I didn't see any of that. Whether you believe it or not, that's stuff you teach at the peewee level. That is stuff that is taught for kids, right? Like, they didn't hustle to the ball. The angles were very elementary, right? The dudes last time I checked, Judkins is not a track star. He was outrunning dudes like it was nothing. Last time I checked, he was a good running back. He wasn't a track star.
Oh, right.
He was outrunning dudes like it was nothing. Last time I checked, we missed how many tackles?
34.
34 tackles in a football game.
And this has been something that we have raised concerns about before. You saw it against Florida last year. You saw it against Texas A&M last year. This is nothing new for LSU football, which is the problem, where it seems like tackling at a fundamental issue is just not something that you would work on. How would you fix it?
I mean, it is stuff you're supposed to be working, but it's – so here's the thing. It's like, it's –
Like, are they just
it's
sudden
the
in practice?
intent that you actually put into it. It's the actual – how hard are you enforcing us getting 11 hats to the ball? How hard are you enforcing everyone, making sure you're playing whistle to whistle? Those things matter. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to enforce it. And if it ain't getting done, either get someone else in there or make sure it's done until it's done. Those things are different. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I'm not at the practice. I don't know. But from what I see, makes me hard to believe that those things are going on, because you don't just quit those things on Saturdays when the lights come on and the TV comes up. It doesn't happen that way. And so for me to watch guys literally give up on plays with 5 minutes left in the first quarter and not chase down someone, not take a correct angle, not jumping on the football, like literally waiting, no, he's not down, and now you try to turn it back on. When I'm seeing that in the first quarter, it makes me feel like those things are being kind of left to the wayside in practice, and they're not really pushing on it. And guess what? It's showing up in games. That's how you give up 60, bro. I don't care how many – no one's that bad at where you just bust coverages so bad to where dudes are running in open space and all of a sudden you can never catch people. It's called effort, alignment, assignment, and I don't feel that those things are being really, really, really harped on, because it just what I see showing up on Saturday.
Well, here's my question, and I'm not saying this is what's going on, but I want to ask you a question. Why do you think that they are not showing effort? And why do you think they're not chasing the balls? Why do you think they're not taking good angles? Why do you think they're not being physical?
Because they have no conviction on what they're trying to do.
Why do you think that, though?
Because, maybe we
Why
are.
is that?
Maybe what the thing is that's going on is that we were really harping on technique of this. Maybe we're really harping on trying to make sure we get this play done right? Well, look, things speed up in the game, man. They watch film too. They change stuff up too. They make little nuance changes too, And if we're putting those things to the wayside as well, then those things are the ones that's what slips in during the game,
Someone brought up a good point. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, right? Because I do believe, and this is, like I said, this is more of a college football thing than an LSU thing. We've talked about NIL in here a lot, right? Like I think NIL is good for college. I think it's fine. I think it's good for college football. I think it could be done a different way. I think the way it's being done right now is you're getting rewarded for what you haven't done yet, as opposed to being rewarded for what you have done, right? And an argument that I heard is, and I've seen this in the professional ranks, you have this guy who works his butt off, known for having a good work ethic, known for, always doing the right things, having these good years, and all of a sudden he got paid. And then some of that, he starts slacking off a little bit because, hey, I already got paid. I got my money, right? Like, this is good. And then all of a sudden, like his progression, it doesn't progress anymore. He doesn't work as hard. He loses a little bit of that edge. And I'm not saying that's what's going on in this LSU team. I'm just saying that is a danger with these young kids of getting all of this money, and as far as NIL goes, and then not having that want to on the field of like, hey, I got to go out there and I got to earn something, right? And sometimes, I'm not saying that, and it could be a subconscious thing, right? And this is an argument. This isn't me bringing this up. This was an argument that I heard that I thought was maybe interesting. I don't know if that's really the case. It's everywhere. I'm not saying just LSU.
Oh, yeah. That's just that. Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's an easy blind take for sure.
For sure, but it's just like, hey, listen, if there's something that you don't have to, like, if you get to something, you don't have to work to get to something. And, like, now, get it. The NFL is different. You make more money. You have all these types of things. It's just, to me, it just doesn't feel like a lot of teams are as motivated as they had been in the past. I don't know why. And it's not just this one. It's teams around college football.
Yeah, I think it's a very dangerous element, right? Because, all right, take the mix of the kids, right? You say you got kids that are coming out of high school that are 17, 18, and 19 years old, and then you got kids that are transferred from other places that are 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. I think it's a lot harder to that first group of kids to get them to, I think they fall into what you were saying a lot more, where it's, man, I got my money. I never had this. I wasn't in this situation. I'm good. And they kind of have that I've made it feel. I'm bigger than where I am. I'm bigger than what I'm doing.
It may not be we get subconscious.
Yeah, it's subconscious. Like, just like you're doing things a little different than you've ever done because you have way more than what you've ever had without really, truly having to.
I don't think that shows up. Like, you don't think you think about that on the football field when you're playing on
That's
Saturday.
why I said
It's not about.
Yeah.
It's not about
the game
It doesn't.
field.
That's the thing. Like, if I can't approach Monday through Friday with that hunger,
that's it.
then what shows up on Saturday
For sure.
is not the same. And so and I flip it around to the other side is I do think you get the older kids with the same thing, but now they feel the pressure of it being on the back end, right? Like, let's be honest, there's not many guys that transfer because everything's going peachy, because they're all Heisman candidates already. That's not the masses of who's transferring. So who's transferring? Guys that are trying to go figure it out on the back end. But here it is. That figuring out now is only about self. So how much are you really investing in playing and making sure you play hard and being accountable when you're really only worried about self? That's not something that's easy to measure, but that's something that possibly could be creeping in when it comes to, and it's not just at LSU. That's wide scale around the country.
I'm not blaming LSU's defense on that by any means. I don't want anybody to misconstrue that.
No, I don't think you are. But what I do think, what y'all are talking about at on a granular level, if you're Matt House, if you're a coach, and it could be any defensive coordinator or any offensive coordinator, you're putting a bunch of people together that have never played before. Andre Sam you have in the back. You have Major Burns, who's been there, but he hasn't played with Andre Sam. You have the unfortunate situation with Greg Brooks. You bring in Zy Alexander. You bring in Denver Harris. You bring in
Deuce Chestnut.
Like, all of these guys have never played defense before, and on the defensive side of the ball, continuity is everything.
Defense together. They've played defense. Yeah.
No, not until this year.
Never played defense before, you said. Defense together.
No, they've never played together for LSU on the same field together. Like, they've played college football together.
Oh, right.
Like,
but some people, people hear it and say,
for sure. But I'm just saying, they've never played together as a unit and you saw it last year with Jayden Daniels. Look at the difference that 1 year made of being in the system with Mike Denbrock and coming together and having Malik Nabers come back, having Brian Thomas come back, having Mason Taylor come back. Like, all of that made it, having Will Campbell come back. Like, that's why the offense looks so good. It's familiar, it's comfortable, and now he can it feels like he's unlocked himself where he's like, I don't have to worry about any of the things that I was usually worried about now. And if it is a part of the defense where he's like, I have to go score 60, if that's what it took for him to be this level of Jayden Daniels, great. But let's get the defense to give up 30. But because they haven't played together, it feels like you see a lot of the hands in the air, and I don't trust him to roll.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I understand what you're saying, but defense is a different dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when you go into year two, I have to, on the offensive side of the ball, play with anticipation. Meaning, I have to know you'll be in that window before I let it rip, right? I have to anticipate. I know that when I let it rip, you're going to get your head around to make that play, right? That doesn't show up on the other side. Communication is we speak. What I saw in this game was, I said it from the start. I thought they would struggle on defense because I know they hadn't played together. The communication was still an issue in Game 5, but now when the issue was happening, guys gave up.
Yeah, that's the difference.
They gave up. There's no gang tackling. There's no running to the ball. There's no taking good angles. There's no finishing plays. That's not I need to be in year 2 to do it. That's called having a little pride with what you're doing right now. And that's the problem I'm seeing is it worrisome that the miscommunication is still there? Yeah, it is. It is. But when you add that without the effort, that's when it gets bad. And that's what you saw was bad.
Effort's not coaching.
No, that's why people are so high on Weeks and so high on Andre Sam. It's like, at least they're playing 100%.
For sure. And it's one of those things where it's like, and I don't want to blame it on that because I'm not. It's another talking point on why some of this stuff. To me, I'm on board with you.
Yeah, listen, I mean that's the first time I've heard somebody put it like that, and it makes total sense. Because when you watch it, we were all watching the game before the show, and you see a lot of that where it feels like, oh, he's going to make the tackle, and it doesn't happen. Then it's, oh, let me ramp up back to 100. It's like, bro, just
run through it.
Run through it. Go have some fun with it.
Just run through it.
And they don't want to do that. And that's at a fundamental level, that's just effort. And that is what is, if you do want to be, I guess,
you've got to
pessimistic about the team, that's easy to be pessimistic about.
You have to have a motivation outside of, like, tangible stuff, right?
You gotta want it.
You have to have all of the greats. Yeah, they like getting paid and like the money, but the money wasn't the motivator, right? It was, I want to be the best of all time. Or it is, I want my family to have things that I never had to have before in my life. It was, I want to prove all these doubters wrong and I can't ever let up because nobody believed in me. It is things that are internal to that person. And I'm not saying that these kids don't have it, because I think that they do. It's just, how do you unlock that?
Yeah.
Right? How do you get them to say, listen, this is bigger than just you, them, the whole team. This is bigger than everybody. This is something that, like, you're going to be remembered for a long time. Nobody remembers 2013. They had one of the better offenses. They had NFL Pro Bowlers everywhere on that offense. Nobody remembers that team. How many people talk about 2006 nationally?
Nobody.
Y'all are pretty good, weren't y'all?
We had one of the more talented teams that's ever been here.
Right? And it's not saying that y'all didn't play hard with effort. It wasn't that y'all weren't good. It was just, hey, y'all had a couple losses.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't win the big one. Y'all didn't have – and I remember it. Lloyd remembers it. You remember it. And y'all had a great year. But it wasn't the year that y'all wanted and anticipated. So my point is, if you want to be great, you got to do extraordinary things. And you got to do things that are going to get you remembered. And to me, that's just a little bit more of an internal thing than an external thing. And that's where the hustling, that's where the gang tackling comes in. That's where the, hey, I don't care if I do it wrong. I'm going to make sure that this person, I make a play somewhere.
How many, you talked about the, 7 or 8, 3rd and 10 or longer that got converted in that game. I bet if we went back and watched those, if we get some gang tackling going on, that stuff happens. You get tackled before we get to those 10 yards, and it's a 7-yard gain, and guess what ends up happening? Now we got 4 dudes celebrating as they're running off the field. How many times do you see guys celebrating as they're running off the field? It feels like there's none of that going on, because it's almost like a half step. Maybe even play like you're timid. Maybe even not really wanting to get your nose in it. I don't want to call their manhood out. That ain't for me to do it. I'm not in the building every day. I'm not with the dudes every day. I don't know what they're like every day. But when I watched that, it didn't seem like a whole bunch of grimy dudes literally trying to beat the will out of another man next to him. It just didn't look like that.
Right. And look, some of that stuff where you feel like they're a step behind, I think that's part of, hey, I don't know where we're going to be, right? I don't know where I'm supposed to be. So if you're not 100% confident in where you're supposed to be in your role, you're going to be a half step back. I get that. But the guy has the ball, I'm going to go and tackle him. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And that's why it looked like, for 4 weeks we saw a team that was not communicating well. Well, then it shows up again in game 5, and it almost seemed like dudes just quit, because when that was still happening, it almost seemed like as soon as you realize I'm a half step late and the play's been made and we didn't communicate it good, it felt like you saw guys pull up, guys look elsewhere, throw hands up, what's going on? And the play's still going on. And that's just where it can't be. That's how you give up 700 yards. That's how you give up almost 60 points. That's how you lose when your offense put up 50 points.
Yep. No doubt.
And that's where I was at with the game, is after you give up 700 yards and 50-plus points, it's hard to be upset at what the rest of the year looks like. Like, people are so mad about, like, what the rest of the season's going to look like. Like, bro, you didn't deserve to win that game if you give up 50-plus points to 700 yards. Like, it doesn't matter how it really ended, because what you did defensively, that doesn't seem like it's going to be fixable in the short term, but maybe it is. I could be wrong. The same things consistently keep happening.
Yeah, the easy fix is, hey, make tackles.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they tried. Another thing of the defense is they tried to put in new players, and that could lead to more confusion, where you saw LaTerrence Welch come in. You saw it. I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm saying, like, communication-wise, like, there's just no consistency on the back end and what they're trying to do on the rushing the passer. And with Harold Perkins, it just doesn't seem like – it seems like they're overcomplicating it just to try to make it perfect instead of they've made it worse.
That's the worry I got, and I guess that would be the worry on anything. Like, I could look at you both, and I could probably ask you the question, like, if you were a basketball player and say you were a good shooter or a good dribbler, or you kind of had some savviness about the game, but you just never grab rebounds, and I just came and you'd be like, hey, bro, like, are you ever going to grab some rebounds? And then the next game you don't grab rebounds. And the next game I'm like, I don't give a damn if you don't do anything else, but you better come out of here with 5 rebounds. Are you going to hustle after loose balls? Are you going to be banging down there trying to grab rebounds? Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to me like that's what needs to be. I hope that's what happens, in the sense of, I hope we're not trying to overcomplicate what we're trying to do and losing the message of, hey, bro, just go make tackles. Let me make sure we take care of
The
this
first
stuff.
things first.
Like, play to the whistle, from the start of the whistle to the end of the whistle. When you run these sprints from the start of the whistle to the end of the line. Like, do these things hard. That way you can carry it over to Saturday. Because I'm not sure if they're doing it hard for whatever reason, it ain't being carried over.
Yeah.
And it leads me to believe that it ain't being done as hard and done with as much attention to detail as it should be.
100%.
And you know who's going to have an opinion on that? It's our guest on Wednesday.
Our guest on Wednesday is gonna have a nice opinion. He's gonna have a lot to say.
Unpack.
He's gonna probably be good about how he says it, but he's known for bringing a lot of energy. He brought some juice in his day, and you felt like his teams usually had that juice. So we're gonna get to talk to him. I'm not gonna say who it is yet. We're gonna announce it a little later. We're gonna have all week to talk about this stuff. We're gonna have all week to be able to
Feels like it got somber
get
in
past
here.
it, huh?
Feels like it got a little somber.
No, it's not somber. We're good. Listen, we are good.
Taking the
LSU
over for sure against Missouri.
LSU is good. LSU is going to be fine-ish. Like, you fix up some of that. They just have to be
They lose to Missouri. This place is going
average
to be on
defense.
fire.
They just have to be average on defense and keep being elite on offense, and they're going to figure it out. And listen, last year we were 4-2 with that blowout loss to Tennessee. This year we're 3-2 with not a blowout loss, but a very disappointing loss to Ole Miss on the road. You know, let's make a change and see what happens. You got a ranked opponent on the road. You open up as 6.5-point favorites. You go out there, you win that game. You come back home. You have Auburn, an Army, and then a bye week, and then you got Alabama. So not all is not lost. You have the ability to do everything that you need to do. With that said, though, Mondays, I'm back to the sprint of the show. We're almost done with the sprints. We're going to get to our seggies. You got a mistake of the day?
I do have a mistake of the day.
Mistake of the day is brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place.
I had a 5-leg. This isn't the mistake of the day, but I had a 5-leg parlay. All I needed was an LSU money line win. So that really hurt.
That hurts.
That one does hurt.
And I didn't even realize it until just now when I checked. It was all Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels over touchdown passes, over rushing yards, over throwing yards. He did everything that I needed.
He did the grunt work for you.
He did. All right. Mistake of the day. Wait. Where is it? I put it in here. Hold on. I'm going to find it right now. It is LSU related. If you saw the end of the game where Ole Miss decided to storm the field, somebody decided to take some looks at Jacoby and Guillory, and he
Do you see the guy who tweeted?
knocked it down.
Do you see the guy who tweeted, tried to say oh, LSU player assaulted the student?
Yeah. That's
outta
what
here.
the mistake of the day.
Is that the tweet?
Yeah. No, it's just this kid who is obviously there's some vulgar language in here. He says the P word. But I just thought, what do you think is going to happen if you're running onto the field with athletes on it?
They just lost the game that they should have played.
They should have won. And this kid. The face at the end of it, though.
Oh, this is real. He got me.
I got that on video, too bad, brother. That face.
Yeah. Hey, bro, don't come at me like that. Don't run into me. And that's part of why.
That's why you should. I mean, I'm all for storming the field, but the people calling for repercussions for that on Jacoby and Guillory's part, bro, you're in my domain now.
Yeah.
You came to the Lions Den.
Yeah, get off the field. You ain't ready for that.
You're not ready for the smoke. But
Everybody,
mistake of the day,
everybody
that kid
thinks
thinking
they're
if he's
big,
gonna-
tough guys until they get into that situation.
That kid is smaller than I am.
That's a good one. Curtain Call is brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners. For all your insurance needs, call us.
And?
Me.
Oh.
Assured Partners.
Okay.
What we got today, boys?
Lloyd, lead it.
You want me to lead it or you got one?
I don't want to take yours.
I put it in here.
Okay, hold on.
It's
Let me check.
I also sent it to us in the Twitter group.
It is in here. Hold on.
So you want me to go first? All right.
Okay, mine is
Okay.
another one for Miggy. But did you see what he did about the first baseman's glove? So he said he didn't have a gamer for the last game that he played in, and so he borrowed the backup first baseman's mitt, fielded one ground ball, signed it for him, and gave it back to him.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Which was dope. He put like all of his accolades on there, signed it. Just one more hat tip for Miggs, doing the best way you could retire, like the most subtle, coolest retirement tour of all time.
The gift that Detroit gave him, the custom-made Jordans with all of his like balls that he did, like the 3,000 hits, all of his accolades on this cleat was pretty awesome. Thought that was pretty cool too.
And then Roger Clemens tweeted out about him too from the home run in the World Series. He's like, had a feeling this kid was gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, he proved a lot to me that day. All right, my curtain call, kind of twofold, right? If you watched the Sunday Night Football game last night, you saw the Jets playing the Chiefs. Obviously, Taylor Swift's like the craze of the NFL, which we're gonna get into that later, not today, but because I can't have enough time. But I think she's been great for the NFL. I'll talk about why. But when they scheduled this game, they anticipated it being Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes. Sunday night, that's why the Jets are getting all these primetime games. Well, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is not there. Zach Wilson, who's the third overall pick, has been much maligned. He hasn't been the guy that they thought. He kind of comes off as a little arrogant shithead sometimes, and he's been humbled a lot. And I don't ever want somebody to fail. I don't ever root for somebody to fail. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a young kid. I think he had to get humbled and learn some stuff. He has been getting trashed by media. He's been getting trashed by the fans. He's been getting trashed by, allegedly, his own teammates. All these things. He goes out there against the Super Bowl champs, against the best quarterback in the NFL, against all odds, prime time, and he plays the best game of his career against a really good team. They were down 17-0. They come all the way back. They tie the game, and they ultimately end up losing 23-20, not because of him. He played his ass off. I know he dropped the snap, 8 minutes left. They didn't get the ball back. He played his ass off. Then you go to the post game. Chris Jones, who's a defensive tackle for the Chiefs, gets interviewed by Rodney Harrison. And Rodney Harrison had the worst interview questions that I've ever seen from a professional in his craft in the media world. He was trying to bait Chris Jones to trashing Zach Wilson, saying he's garbage, he's trash. Started from the pregame. It sounded like it was personal. Chris Jones handled it with class. And then Micah Parsons comes back today, and you don't have to play the video because we don't really have. You can play a little bit of it, but he comes up today, and he goes up on Bleacher Report Live and is basically going at Rodney Harrison about, hey, you're a former guy, you're supposed to be a fraternity, and you're in the media, and you're going to go and say this stuff about a guy who's trying his best, and he actually played well. Yeah. You're going to try to discredit what he did. Like, to me, I don't love that. Yeah. And I like the way the players, handled it, and I'm happy for Zach Wilson. I hope that he turned the corner. That's my curtain call. Because the guys defending their brother in the NFL.
I like it. I'm going to go with so before Sunday, right, Week 4 game in the NFL, there was only 5 players ever in the history of football to start the season averaging 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, I think. And I'm sorry, not 4 touchdowns, no interceptions in the first 4 games of the season. The names on that list are Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Pat Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. Well, there's a new member, and he's a rookie that's down in Houston, Texas. C.J. Stroud becomes the 6th player ever in NFL history to average those through the first 4 games. Some would say that's a solid start to your NFL career. Because guess what? Those other guys was not in their rookie year doing it. So hats off to that. The kid's playing well. If you hadn't watched him play, you need to lock
only
into
one
him.
with no picks in that list. Crazy. All right, that's all we got for y'all today. We will be back live in studio on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday is Ask Mikie and Mitch Day. It's also we're going to have a special guest in studio talking about how to fix some of these issues. We're looking forward to it. Please like and subscribe to our channel. If you can't like and subscribe, if you don't like to watch us and you like to listen to us or anywhere you get your pods, we appreciate all love and support. We will see you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Peace.